Today is Tuesday, January 23rd, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Podcast.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard, seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard, seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple Podcast. I am your co-host, Mike Shalau from Is Was Brewing, and I'm here with your other co-host, Chris Quinn. Chris,
hey,
how you doing?
I'm doing well. Welcome back to
Thank you.
the United States.
Thank you, yeah.
I saw Lou Bank yesterday. He said you guys had
nice.
a good old time and that you definitely didn't smuggle hundreds of pounds of agave heart into this country.
Definitely didn't do that, no way. Would never do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you missed all the. Did you miss all the insanely cold weather?
I had like a day. The day I left, it was super cold. I had a flight at like 8 in the morning, so I was like waiting for a bus at 5 a.m. when it was negative 30. So I got a little bit of it.
Got it.
And then I had to wait for a train that was 15 minutes late. And that's when you really start feeling like, oh, it is negative 30 out here.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
your feet, you stop feeling your toes.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah,
Always a good
no,
time.
you definitely have to prepare to be outside when it's that cold.
Yeah.
You can do it, but you can't just like, I'll hang out for a half hour. You'll be miserable.
Yeah, I find there's like an uncanny valley of how cold it is and how much I'm willing to go outside, where like if it's like 0 to negative 10, I'm like, there's no way I'm going outside.
Got
And
it.
if it gets below negative 10, I'm like, yeah, I'm going outside. Of course I'm going outside. It's
Got it.
Chicago, baby.
Right.
And then I regret it. But if you don't walk to a bar at negative 15, then you get your Chicago card taken away.
Well, if you're young enough without a jacket on, too.
That's right.
I remember I was in Michigan last year up at Michigan State, and it was college basketball season, so probably around now.
Yeah.
And it was very cold up there, and there was snow all over the place, and all the guys and girls were out having fun for the night, and like most did not have a jacket, and lots of the women had like no sleeve shirts on and stuff like that too.
I saw someone on that morning, it was like probably 6:30, get off the train at the Rosemont stop wearing shorts. And I was like, this can't be.
It's like Jason Kelsey at the Buffalo Bills game when it
Yeah,
was like 16 degrees or something
Shirtless.
with no shirt on.
Yeah.
He's also that guy.
He's
probably
insulated.
He probably runs hot.
Yeah, I guess he
dude.
runs hot, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw someone wearing shorts, and I was like, "That you're going to die. It's like,
Yeah, right.
You're going to die out there. I hope they didn't. If you're listening, I hope you didn't die.
Oh, that's nice of you. I hope you didn't die.
Yeah. I wish that for most people, to be honest.
You're a good guy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
People say that about me.
Yeah. You're like Eric Adams in that you're Gandhi-like.
We get the Eric Adams bits.
Yeah. I mean, famously to me, said that he was Gandhi-like.
Yeah, it's self-proclaimed.
So I think you're Eric Adams-like.
Thank you. So Gandhi by proxy, they call that.
Yeah.
Proxy Gandhi.
Proxy Gandhi.
Propaganda?
No, just proxy Gandhi
Okay.
is probably where we should leave it.
Gandhi vibe.
So we've got some guests here, and we're gonna talk some beer styles. Why don't let's introduce the guests, and then we'll get to some other housekeeping stuff because there's some things that I want to get to. I'm excited to, and then we'll get to the meat of the show.
Just grabbing the meat.
Grab the meat, and get to it. So let's introduce people in order of seniority, that being how many times they've been on the show. It's getting harder as this show goes on for 8 years to remember how many times people have been on the show. How many times have you been on the show? Like that many times? 4? Okay. You've been on more than that probably.
Yeah,
All right.
He's been on more this month maybe than Max has been on.
Okay. So we've got...
Just kidding.
Wow.
It is... Are you feeling... I mean, it's cold outside. It is not cold in this room.
It's not cool.
I'm going to turn on the AC.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I think I got some in my eye.
Yeah.
It's very water. It's spicy.
Yeah. Oh, picante.
Yeah.
Some picante takes going on.
That's right.
We've got Mr. Hot Take, Jake. Jake Guidry, what's up?
Hello, friends.
How are you?
Glad to be back again. I'm great.
Your earthly form now.
Oh yes, and back
Like
in
2 eyes.
Yes, 2 eyes. Thank heavens for that. That was a whole ordeal.
Third eye insurance.
People don't know there is like a hangover to being possessed.
Yes, I was laid up
That's right.
in my bed for
I had to leave-
weeks.
I had to leave
after
the
that
country.
show.
Yeah.
I had to leave the country to shake it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be back at the table of success. As you know, Eric Adams says the haters are your waiters at the
Yeah.
table of success. So
Right.
here we are.
That's right.
Yeah, all
Not
you
at all
out there
tone deaf
hating on
to
my
say
takes, just so you know, you're not welcome. Okay, we got the takes; they're going to be hot as ever.
Ooh.
So buckle in. Buckle up, right?
Very bad.
Buckle in, buckle up, buckle down, buckle out.
Strap in.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me again.
Oh, man. No worries. And we have, most of you know him as the manager of Team Pips.
Why
No.
Stefan?
No, it was like
Smooge?
Smooge. No, was it Smooge? Was it?
Team Smooge.
Yeah, it was Smooge. Smooge.
The GM
It's
of
hard.
Team Smooge. A lot of GMs don't know their own team.
It's hard.
I don't
Smooge
know.
left the market.
Yes, you do. You're
so,
Sierra Nevada.
Oh, that's
I'm Y. Stefan.
Yeah, well, you're wise, Stefan.
Yeah.
And you're Team Smooge.
Yeah.
And
Eric's 420 North.
Your boy
Your
is
boy.
is 420 North.
And then Nate is Pips.
Pips.
Pips, yeah.
Team
yeah.
Pips. Anyway, the GM of Team Smooge, Mr. Max Peltier. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So what we're going to be talking about are styles and their state of being, in that their state of living, dying, stuff like that. Are these styles still alive? Are they dead? Are we mourning? Are we laying flowers at their graves? Or are we pissing on their graves? Right? Maybe spitting on their graves. Let's say that.
Nah, pissing.
Pissing.
Yeah.
Okay. Both.
Yeah. It's piss and spit.
Piss and spit while you're doing it. Just really don't like that style. So we're gonna be talking about that, but a little bit of housekeeping. We have our book. The next iteration of our book club is in just under a month. February 20th is when we're going to record it, and we've already gotten some people who are reading the book and have reached out to us with questions for the author, Pete Brown.
The book is.
The book is Hops and Glory by Pete Brown. I picked up 3 copies of the book that I can put up for sale after being somewhat lightly badgered by you to do so. I bought 3 copies of the book that are officially not distributed. There's no publisher in the U.S., so I had to buy them on Amazon and I will now flip them, I suppose.
We couldn't talk to Pete? And see.
I did talk to him.
Oh, he said no.
He said no, but a lot of people have read it.
Did you
It's
know this
basically
book
what he
wasn't
said.
available in the United States?
I said that. I said it on this show multiple times.
I
Like,
wasn't there.
it's not a big deal. I found it on Amazon, is what you said. So that's where I found it, and I
wasn't
bought
paying.
3 copies.
That's fine.
So we can put it for sale here at the shop if anyone wants to get it.
Don't narc on us.
No, I think you're allowed
With
to.
illicit books.
You're allowed to resell a book. It's not like it's booze or something. So yeah, we'll have it for sale. Hops and Glory. I started rereading it, and
I'm reading it for the first time.
I'm
great book.
very much enjoying it. And it's also really cool that the book takes place in like 06, 07, which is like such an exciting time, and hearing some of the stuff that he's writing about and how, the Americans have this IPA. And, Goose Island makes an amazing one, and I buy it by the case, because it's one of the few I can get in the UK, and Breckenridge, and and Sam Calagione had this thing. He's this incredibly charismatic guy in his mid-30s, Sam Calagione, and you're like, oh my gosh, like those are the days. And he's got Randall the Enamel Animal, and
it was
such a wide-eyed era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and very
it's
exciting,
awesome.
and no cynicism about that.
Right.
That was, to me, that's kind of when I came up, like that era.
Yeah.
When I first started getting into it and thinking about it, and it seems like a good read. I haven't read that book.
Yeah, it's great. It's about how he falls in love with IPAs, and then that leads him to try to have a traditional IPA brewed at Burton, in as traditional as it could have been to how it would have been made with the amount of hops and the recipe and all that, put into a cask, and then take it by ship to India, not using the Suez Canal.
And around the Horn.
Yeah.
So
'cause
mimic
it didn't
the
exist.
the what would have happened in that voyage, basically.
So, what happens? Does it transform? Mm-hmm. Does it get better? What happens? And it's interspersed with the history of IPA, which is actually, the way he writes it, just as interesting as the trip. The reason we did this book, which was, the first two I think were pretty classic books that we did for our reading series. Mm-hmm. And this was one that I wanted to do because it's my favorite beer book, but most people haven't read it. But what a perfect reason to go and read it. Not informational, although it's chock full of information.
Yeah. Narrative's great.
Yeah.
His writing style is great.
Yeah.
Very
funny.
breezy and easy and funny.
Yeah.
And anytime you get someone with an English accent on the pod, you got to do it. Numbers going to go through the roof. Class?
Exactly.
So classy.
Yeah. He was nice enough to come on the show. And, So, but that's a reminder. Go pick up a book. You can come in here and get it.
Probably here.
Yeah. At least
No,
three.
for my sake,
at
so
least,
you actually sell the books.
At least 3 people should come here and get it.
Real quick, you mentioned Burton, right? Are they decommissioning the last
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Burton-on-Trent brewing facility?
The Union.
Yeah.
The Union at
That's
Marston's.
right. Yeah.
Union
I've been there.
busting.
You have.
I've been there. I've stood. My friend Steve Massney went up and stood on top of the Union during the tour, which frazzled the lovely lady who was leading the tour.
Had he had a couple beers?
Probably a few.
Yeah.
And then later saw a brewer and went up to him, and he pulled beer. He got some bottles. He got old ketchup bottles, like glass bottles, that had screw cap, not the little Heinz ones where they just kind of latch on.
HP sauce.
Yeah, probably HP sauce, and
Keep
for
it
real,
classy.
Oh, yeah.
and filled them for us, and we took them home with the Union beer, because the pedigree, which is what they used that beer, or the last beer they used it for, was still, I think, only maybe 25% of the Union beer. So we had the pure stuff.
Uncut.
Yeah, which was, in hindsight.
Did you OD on it? Was it too intense?
I
for
took
you?
it to we drank some of it there in England, but I took my bottle home because I think a week or 2 weeks later was Dark Lord Day, and I brought it to Dark Lord Day and claimed that I had the rarest beer there, guaranteed, which was true. Mm-hmm. And I said, but you will not care about it. But anyway.
I once traded a low fill of raspberry truffle abduction for a Dark Lord by doing the same technique. This is way rarer than what you just bought for $35.
Jesus Christ.
I definitely bought a bottle of that at
days.
West Lakeview. Damn, that's a throwback.
The Raz Truff?
Yeah. I was.
Was it in 750s still?
It was It was 22s. I was one of those dudes. I was hitting up West Lakeview for the Citra Ninja and all that stuff.
Truck chaser.
Yeah. Pre getting.
I
in the
might have been
industry
selling
here.
it to you.
Yeah. No, you might have been. You might have been the one to tell me how good it was.
Yeah, but the
Buy
union
it.
going away.
Yeah. You might.
Union is
Yeah. So
going
what's this?
away.
Sorry, I didn't quite know the details of that. Do you know, Chris? What's going on?
So
Or how that happened?
Carlsberg bought Marston's a couple years ago, and
Bastards.
they're decommissioning the union because it's. I mean, when we were there, they were saying, not necessarily proudly, but with a little bit of pride, I guess, that it was the most inefficient
Like it's basically a
fermentation,
museum, right? It's basically there to
in
exist
the world
Yeah.
now. Like,
yeah.
and but
Very
they're still
English.
doing it, and I still think they were. That's how they were getting their yeast. Is how they were still driving their yeast
No,
from,
it's like essentially
from that.
they're justifying it by saying it's like a yeast propagator.
Yeah, I mean, and it definitely was, but yeah. So they've got several sets. I reached out to Matt Brynelson when I found out the news because they have a. It's not even really a union,
That
but it
from
kind of is a union.
Firestone Walker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they have the Union Jack
Right.
and DBA, which is the one I think is actually in the union, maybe. But it's nothing. It's not a real union, but it's now the closest thing there is.
Yeah.
And he said, I wonder what they're going to do with those sets. I have to reach out to him. And I was like, that's what I was hoping you would say. So
I kind of feel like they should be leaving it there and like turning it then into like a museum.
I think they're going to leave two of the sets there as like they're going to decommission them, but they'll be there, which is I think is kind of what the big fooders at Guinness is apparently like the same thing. Like they're still there, but they're
Right.
just decommissioned. But yeah, I mean that's why my annual beer trip started out in England, and it was I wanted to get cask beer, and I wanted to see the Union before it disappeared because there was only one place doing it, and I am very happy I did because it was super cool. Well, for me, most people wouldn't give two shits, but
So the union is dead.
the Union is dead.
Here.
Yep. Yes. The Union is also the size of the barrel. It's like a designation of the size of a barrel. You would think it's that they're joined. You know, it's like
Yeah,
a union.
they're
It's-
united.
Apparently, it has nothing to do with it. union.
Dumb Americans.
Because I'd be like, well, so these barrels, like, no, they're unions. That's what that size barrel is called. Because there's like a hogshead and a this and a pin and a, you know, all this imperial measurement. you
Right.
know.
The best system. Most
yeah.
logical system.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's all gone. Thanks, Carlsberg.
Yo, shout out Carlsberg coming in. Doing
They
terrible
also
stuff.
they were busy.
They're busy boys.
They also bought 20% of McKellar.
Oh yes, that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
that's fascinating.
Did you see his brother's comment that
Yepa.
McKellar's brother?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
evil twin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that he just said like LOL, the Wi-Fi password when they opened literally was Carlsberg sucks.
Yeah. It's easy to be anti-establishment when it builds your brand, but then when the money comes calling, it changes the formulation, right?
Kind of goes back to some of the stuff that was going on in this book, Hops and Glory, in the contemporary portion of it. You know, yeah, there was a lot of that going on.
Tale as old as time.
Tale as old as time.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of beasts and beasts in this union.
So we also have some letters that we should get to. Are we ready for letters?
I think we're ready for letters.
Okay. Because I feel like there's a decent chance that if we get to the meat of the show, we may not get to letters. We may forget. And we have. I held on to this one specifically because it was...
A terrifying work of art.
Well, you asked.
Yeah.
You said. I said we had one on parchment.
Yeah.
We had handwritten. We've had typed. we've had postcards, and you said, what we need now is like one of those ransom letters.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, and I have it here,
So-
we have a ransom note here, right here.
Beautiful.
I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like the Riddler did it.
Yeah.
Should I read it,
Poor Riddler.
No.
or do you want to read it?
No, you should read it.
Okay. It says, "Hi, Chris and Mike. Are Bombers the vinyl records of craft beer?" Jeremy. Thanks, Jeremy. So not only did he
I
read
see
a
it.
letter, write a letter like that, he asked an actual question.
Yeah.
Good for him. So now he has to write either another letter like that telling us what type of 3-tier merch he wants,
Well, Stanley
or
Cup.
or he can send us an electronic letter to insiders@craftbeertemple.com. All that stuff is in the show description, but also our actual address, if you want to send us a letter, is in the show description as well. It's 3173 North Elston Avenue in Chicago, Illinois, 60618. What's up, Mike?
It's incredible.
Yeah. I have a drawer where I
makes me
have
so
probably I would say 80+% of all the written letters
Yeah.
are I keep them.
You got
You got to post this on Instagram. People got to see this. It's quite a work of art.
Yeah, there you are.
So what do we think?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What's the
Our
answer?
Bombers.
Our Bombers, the vinyl records of beer.
No,
Like,
it's
interesting.
absolutely not.
It's
Absolutely not.
an interesting
No,
question.
No.
Okay, why not?
Vinyl records. Doesn't make any sense.
Let me put some sense to it, then you can answer. So maybe, because you can interpret this much like a ransom letter. What do they mean?
Ransom letters are usually pretty easy to interpret.
Well, it's like
Give us the money.
We know
How
who,
many dollars?
we know who
Lebowski.
you are.
Yeah.
Don't try anything funny.
No
you
funny
know.
business.
Right, exactly.
They're gonna kill that poor woman.
Right. So, could it be that they are classic and are going to see a resurgence someday?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, if we're broadening a little bit and just saying large format, I might be more willing to agree to an extent.
Yeah, I think it probably was easier for him to find the words bomber in magazines than
Yeah.
large.
750
mil,
ml
750
or
ml.
Cork and
Dollar.
Cage.
yeah. Let's say
I mean,
large format.
I
yeah.
think, to be honest, I think there's a level of like pomp and circumstance with like opening up a bottle, like Cork and Cage and all of that. It adds some fun to it, which I think like vinyl
Totally
records
agree.
have that to an extent. I mean, it probably won't be the same entire thing where we're drinking digital beer and then we have analog 750s, but like, you know.
I mean, that's the
We're,
biggest place the analogy breaks down is that
Yeah.
music became an infinitely copyable
Yeah.
medium that you could steal, whereas beer will always be a physical, tangible medium.
Well,
But
also,
there's nostalgia factor to like the large format. The Bomber specifically is probably one of the more nostalgic packages in American craft beer. Up there with the Growler. I
Right.
would say the Growler might be.
I do like where Max
Sorry.
is going, though, because he's saying that there's some kind of, there's some sort of ceremony to taking out a big bottle and opening it up, and it is in that way. Like you take out the record, you put it on the record player, you put the graphic, you set it up on the table, and you look at the liner notes or something like that. And there's kind of this like process to it. I do think large format is very much like that. I mean, around holiday times when people come in here asking for gifts for other people, like, oh, can you get us like, I want to buy X amount of beer, different styles. So much more often they're like, oh, I don't care what it is, but then you like set out a bunch of stuff and they'll like the bottles, the large format, the cool-looking stuff more than a 4-pack with a sticker label on it.
Yeah.
Just because it seems more special.
Yeah. I mean, we package all our stuff. It's not necessarily large format, but it is in single-serve bottles. And there's several reasons for that, but one of the parts is that I think it's like this focusing mechanism where you put a lot more thought into opening a single bottle of something than pulling part of a 4-pack of cans out and drinking that. So there's definitely some like specialness going on with the single-serve format too.
And also, large formats are never going to be the primary way that beer is consumed. Those large formats, kind of like vinyl. Now, I think
vinyl is the most purchased physical music medium in America.
Yeah, physical, but now
streaming is the 30-pack.
Yeah, so it's the largest of the infinitely tiny physical way that people do it. So like everybody streams music now. Even people who have vinyl, I would say 90+% of them listen to most of their music probably digitally.
Sure.
Right. Okay. So in this analogy, if bombers are vinyl, what is streaming?
4-pack cans.
Yeah.
Or cans.
16-ounce cans, paper,
with draft
labels.
beer.
Yeah.
Draft beer is concerts, though.
Yeah, draft beer is concerts. It's a good question.
I don't think that you can really compare it to digital stuff. I think if you just go with other physical formats of music, it's a big
Well, then
Right,
bomber would be like the CD.
Right.
And
So
then, the growler would be the vinyl.
Right. If we're trying to limit it to physical,
Growlers, vinyl. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like that at all.
That's like
There's
it's
so much-
Cork and cage.
There's so much more nostalgia attached to a
I'm
growler.
actually I'm
than-
vibing with the growlers being the vinyl.
No, the growler is the
Because,
cassette
growler-
tape.
no.
Growler is the cassette tape.
No,
the 8-track.
no.
Growler
no.
is the cassette tape.
No,
Max knows
bombers
what's
are
up.
the fucking 8-track because
What?
yes, because no
Sure.
one's buying that anymore. It's not because look, there's nothing presented in a bomber that heightens the experience. A growler necessitates that you just got it from the brewery. It's fresh. It's something that might not be available in package. That is a different experience that people who might be into vinyl like. So if we're trying to extrapolate out this,
Does the
this
second
analogy.
side of a vinyl record taste like crap? Sound like shit because it's been
Sometimes.
sitting out too long?
Well, okay, so it has to be a fresh growler.
that
but like,
breaks
what-
down
but-
anything.
But if like this analogy, I think bomber being vinyl, it does not account for like all the things that people who give a crap about vinyl actually appreciate about it. It's not just the like packaging that makes people into vinyl. It's so much other stuff. And as someone who collects it, especially like more like stuff like vintage, vinyl that was from eras that was actually like from bands that were actually making the records for vinyl specifically. That's a different scenario than the vinyl of like a new band, right? Like getting a vinyl today from a band that has a digital streaming platform. That's different than like owning like, I don't know, something that was created in the 60s or 70s.
Do you just mean like nostalgically or sound quality wise?
Sound quality, but there's like different. So it's like so much entangled in that, like in like the concept of like why someone collects vinyl. It's not just limited to like rarity or packaging, because like if we're limiting it to that, then it's like what makes a bomber any different than like a can, right? In this
I mean
analogy.
the actual like there's things dealing with sample rates and digitization that just will not
the
have
liquid
will
is
not have
actual,
an
the
analog
liquid
in this
going
conversation.
into the package is not any different.
What about bottle conditioning?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying about the like. So that's what's interesting about this question is like we're talking about the growler or bottle conditioning. Now we're getting into like the meat of like what could make something different than how it's presented now, or how it's presented in another way. There's an actual physical difference or a taste difference to the thing that you're experiencing.
I will say, if I'm going to go with this analogy, the growler is the person who holds a tape cassette up to a vinyl record while it's playing and just records it and then brings it over and plays it. That's the growler.
I
It's
feel like
worse in every
let's
way.
say the growler is
Okay, so-
the growler is live performance recordings, like the Grateful Dead, like
Fine.
bootlegs.
Okay.
They're bootlegs.
I'll give you that.
Because
then-
you have to
so
go.
then-
You have to go there to get them.
So then,
Yeah.
like,
So-
so then
That's
a
a great
tank. So then,
analogy,
like a pour from the bright tank would be vinyl. Then it's like
Yes, I guess.
That's live. That's live.
right.
Music,
if you're
baby.
saying
Yeah,
like
still
if-
live.
if-
Yeah.
That's an
if-
acoustic
if you're-
set.
That's being
Yeah.
in the studio when they're
Yeah.
recording.
Okay,
That's
fine.
an
If you're,
acoustic
but if you're
set.
basing it on the quality of the liquid in the bottle,
That's
and that's
MTV
like the
Unplugged.
that's the
Sure.
it's like okay, then the,
But I will say,
the
like-
bomber analogy falls off because a bomber is not the best way to present beer.
Well, let's say large format. Let's go large format, and let's say, what if you have a cork and cage lambic? That
Versus
is
They don't even do that much.
Versus a canned
well. I
lambic.
mean, Dree.
Yeah.
Or a lot of them do, and those are, just corked. Then doesn't need to be caged. Lambic or goose is like a really special way, and you present it, and you put it in a basket and you display it, and that is very vinyl-esque in how you do it. So I think in some sense it is. Now, that is not the bomber, and I could even see like reissues of like, we're going back to bombers, and we're going to have 7 different colors of wax coating for the same beer.
Right.
Collect them all, and then you're doing the Taylor Swift thing.
It's like it's like it's
try
like
to
the,
do
it's
that,
like the
but no one
pack-
wants bombers.
Right, it's like the packaging.
Sure.
So I think this analogy is more talking about the packaging of the thing versus
Yeah.
like the actual liquid. And I guess people look at vinyl different ways.
It's a great
some people want
letter
vinyl
because it made
of
us think of it in our own ways.
No, it's an interesting question. I think, or it's causing at least some stupid debate. But it's like the packaging. Like some people look at vinyl as like a cool way to package music. Other people like vinyl because of the sound, right? And depending where you fall, I think it's like kind of where the analogy does or doesn't make sense for people.
So we have some other letters as well. So thank you very much, Jeremy,
Yeah.
for this.
I think he gets 3 tiers stock for writing that one. Let's
Yeah,
talk
he
to Don,
gets-
to Don about that one.
He gets,
Revenue.
yeah, but he
sharing.
gets it in. The stock is issued as
Yeti
merch,
mugs.
and then you can redeem them at some point. They're like Class C stock.
Yeah.
But let us know what you want. You want a Yeti cooler? Do you want, whatever it is? I'm sure it's being made.
Do you want the jet?
Want
the
a jet, the Harrier jet.
Yeah.
He's
You gotta collect enough 3-tier points.
3 tier points. You have to know enough famous craft beer personalities.
Did you know that under every single Allagash White, there's a 3-tier point on the cap?
Ooh,
So you collect enough of those bad boys to get you a Harrier jet.
that's cool.
Only if Rob Todd signed it, though.
So we have electronic
I'm
letters.
I'm just joshing. We're not gonna get you a Harrier jet.
Oh, thanks for
Yeah.
that.
It's an F-35.
Yeah, it's
Does not constitute an offer.
It's a stealth. It's a Gen 5
Yeah,
or Gen
yeah.
whatever.
Careful of dust.
Yeah.
So, insiders at craftbeertemple.com get you. That's the electronic way to send us letters, and people do that as well.
We appreciate those too.
So we have a letter from, and remember, as the way you sign your letters is how we will refer to you. So some people don't want to say who they are because they might be in the industry and stuff like that. So anyway, this is from a guy from Maryland, and it says, it starts, "It's rare that I disagree with Mike,
Oh,
but he's
no.
totally
Shut it down.
Oh, yeah.
out of league when it comes to crabs. While I fear inflating Chris's ego, every word about crabs were Chris's ego. Every word about crabs were spot on. Let's leave the crustacean talk to those who have regional expertise, i.e., Mike on lobster rolls and Chris on crabs.
I genuinely don't even remember when do we talk about
If you
crabs.
need more definitive judgments, please find me on the Rehoboth Beach boardwalk wearing an I love BTIILF BTILFs shirt. Yes, that would be the Beer Temple insiders I'd like to have fun with. Happy holidays. This was sent about a month ago. a guy from Maryland. So there you have that.
My
Thank
apologies
you.
for coming at your crabs. I don't even remember. I genuinely don't remember what I said about
Well,
crabs. Sounds like
I
a
don't
while
know.
ago.
I don't know.
Probably said king crabs are better, but
I think you did, maybe.
I'm gonna stand by that. You can kick rocks. I take it back.
Apparently you don't know what you're talking about. I would agree.
That king crabs are better.
No,
yeah.
with
You said you heard it here
a guy
first.
from Maryland. We have another one. The subject of this is Mount Hood hops.
Let's go.
This is from Peter. He says, "Hey dudes, there was talk about Mount Hood hops in the year-end episode. Mike said he didn't know if he'd had any beers with that hop in it. Good news. If you've ever had Flywheel or Heliostat, you had Mount Hood. It was the lead aroma hop in both those beers, along with Sterling. Great episode, really entertaining. 2.5 bottle caps. Cheers, Peter."
Thank you for enlightening me. I've had both of
Yeah.
those beers.
I think
Yeah.
also Coniston
Written in
X-
past tense, by the way, that it was the lead aroma hop. Yeah, interesting.
R.I.P.
I also
Yeah.
think Coniston XB Bitter, the one with the new modern American hop, uses
Let's
Hood.
go.
Yeah,
It's new to them.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. You have had Mount Hood.
Yeah, I thought I had it. I just never had one that was like, this is Mount Hood.
You're not seeing it called out.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go.
On a
Not having a hazy IPA with only Mount Hood.
I would love that though. That'd be sick.
Mount Hood Smash, double
yeah,
dry
smash,
hop.
smash
Ooh,
IPA Mount Hood.
speaking
Vienna
of,
malt and
that's
Mount
something
Hood hops.
Didn't even
Yeah.
think about.
We can talk about that. Oh, I thought about it.
Oh.
The smash beer.
Well,
We
get to
have
it, yeah.
one from Eric Oliver. And he writes, "Chris, Mike, and Sergio. Great news. I found it. Oh, the subject is Fathead's rebrand.
Let's go.
Great news. I found it. Love the podcast. Thanks for the countless hours of listening." And it has a photo attached. And I'll zoom in. This doesn't make for the best audio, but I'll show it to Mike, and then to and then to Serge. And it's basically, and he might be right. I think he might be right. It's the Fatheads, and it just
This is
has
a big old sticker.
it's just like a big sticker slapped over. It might not literally be a sticker, but it's supposed to look like a sticker. It might
I mean,
literally be a sticker.
It's over a fold, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's over a fold in
So
the
it's like
carton.
misplaced.
Oh yeah, it is. It's over
It's
a
just
fold in the
sticker.
carton.
You just
It's
slap the sticker
It
on
says World Beer Cup winner. I mean,
go.
it might be.
Do you think they went
Yeah.
to the stores and slapped those on like post hoc, or do you think they put those on at the factory?
Right.
At the
exactly.
That's
brewery?
moving units. We know that's moving
He also
units.
has. There's in this picture. There's the Imperial Headhunter that's next to it too.
Chris, why didn't you bring that in? Come on. What's
What
up?
the heck?
Uh,
You're waiting.
Get that on drafts?
I wanted. What else is in there? Oh, there's Holly Jolly. There's Groovy Juice. There's all sorts of
Groovy
good
juice.
stuff.
You gotta get some.
Just describing a shelf set from a picture he's looking at.
Yeah.
this is
And
content,
there's
baby.
All the
hippie-
listeners in Ohio
Hey,
are just
we-
like shaking their heads.
we
Just
promise you content.
Groovy
every day.
Juice, Hippie Sippy, and Holly Jolly.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful.
Amazing.
What do you? Headhunter and Imperial Headhunter. So
Hippie sippy, what are they doing over there?
I mean, killing it.
It brings me so much joy just to hear these names. I mean, it's the best.
Yeah. So anyway, hey, maybe next time we'll get Hippie Sippy. But yeah.
Only
So
we've
we
been
have
some-
more letters. Thank you guys so much. We'll get to the other letters on a future episode, but I wanted to get us caught up a little bit. At least we're now about we're about 2 weeks out now. So if you wrote a letter 2 weeks ago, we might get to it in a week or two.
Which then will be another week before the podcast comes out. But
But you know,
we'll get to it.
and you will get eventually, perhaps,
Maybe.
your 3-tier merch. But you have to send what size shirt. Max can say, we do send these things out occasionally.
Send your
Yeah,
size, folks.
I'm occasionally told by Chris, put this in a bag and send it out. I'm 3 weeks late on doing this. Can you do it today?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So
It happens. So there you go. And if you can ask for 3-tier merch, which is my recommendation. You could also ask for Beer Temple or Was merch. We'll hook you up.
We will print some merch for you.
You'll print or just give some used merch.
You can have my sweatshirts that have holes in them.
Or that hat. You can have that
That's
hat.
true. You can. I need this hat for warmth.
You have other hats you wear. I've seen them. So
Just taking my hat off my
yeah,
head.
I mean, hey, if they wrote a handwritten letter, then I say they can.
Value in that.
There's value.
That's a good point.
Okay. I'm gonna close my laptop, and we'll get to the meat of the show. Should we take a short break before we do that? That's what they call a teaser or a cliffhanger, right? Let's take a short break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about some dead styles that you want to spit on.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to dig them up. Welcome back to the Beer Temple podcast. We're here to review food.
No, we're not.
So good. Never mind.
Jake got a little peckish, and
What do you got there, Jake?
I'm looking at camera B. Is this camera B here, sir?
That's your camera.
Camera
Yeah.
B.
Yeah.
phone
All
B.
All right. Phone B here.
Camera phone B.
You heard it here first, folks. Me, Hot Take Jake from Hopewell Brewing says the pizza here at Beer Temple is to die for.
Take a
Let's
bite.
go.
Take a bite. Prove it.
Prove it.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Beautiful.
Better than
Lovely
Lunchables.
stuff.
Better
Lovely
than
Better
Yeah,
than
yeah.
all the competition.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the best pizza in Chicago, Jake?
Certainly the best cafeteria reheated pizza.
Is that the best pizza reheated in
I'm not going to
Ninja
justify
toaster
that
oven?
with an answer. That's how you say that one. Okay. So
It is very good. I eat them.
the reason that we're all
weekly.
here is to talk about dead beer styles. It was a topic that you and I thought might be interesting, and something that we've it's come up, but we haven't dedicated actual time to it. So let's just. This is fairly unstructured. We were on a little bit of a text thread for a little bit earlier today, but that's really it. We didn't even say how we wanted to approach it, but the idea is just to talk about dead beer styles that are dead. And one thing I will say is not styles that have never really seen any love, like the Lichtenheiner.
Yeah, don't you remember Lichtenheimers from the 90s?
Yeah.
They were all the rage.
Right,
The
exactly.
1890s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were really something before electricity, as Rodney Dangerfield would say.
Only the most relevant references on the Beer Temple podcast.
Like Lichtenheiner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So mostly focus on American craft beer, kind of beers that came and went during the renaissance of American, the growth of American craft beer.
exactly.
Sorry, was there a style that kind of ignited this question for you all?
Well, let's say, is there a poster child style for dead styles?
I would posit the poster child for dead fad styles specifically is
Currently.
the Brute IPA.
I think, and I said currently because I knew you were going to say it, and
Yeah.
it's a new style.
What do you mean?
It's a new style. It was barely ever alive.
Right.
I mean, it died
But it burned
in
hot.
infancy.
It burned
It's
hot.
the
and
newest
short.
of the dead styles.
And it's the most
Almost.
It's
Cold
got-
IPAs
recent and
newer.
iconic.
That beer has a tiny little baby coffin.
Yeah.
Like the little ones that you feel really bad
Baby
for.
shoes never used.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Saddest story ever told.
I mean-
Brute
Right.
IPA.
Right.
Here's the thing, there's other styles that had a lot more length in terms of time, but also in terms of volume of production was probably way less. A lot less people was focused on it. I mean, back in every single brewery had a Belgian program basically 15 years ago.
But I still think that the Brute IPA, I agree, is currently anyway the poster child for dead style because it came at such an interesting time.
Yeah.
when everybody was scared, looking, not wanting to miss out on the next hazy.
Were we scared yet? I don't think anyone was scared yet.
No, yes, they were.
Okay.
Everyone went to hazy because they were scared. They didn't have the confidence to not go
I
to
don't know.
hazy.
I think it's a
This
little.
is my opinion.
I think it's a little pre everyone being like really scared. There was people still being like, "This is kind of fun," still, and being like, hold on."
I don't think it was just so easy money.
I
Hazy or brew?
disagree.
Hazy.
Hazy.
And then brew was, I think,
Brew was
seen as the
after that.
next style. Yeah, I
think-
thought that
because
brew was,
like everybody. So breweries, we're already getting off the rails. Breweries don't drop everything that they've been doing and go to hazy because it's fun and like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that's what I've always wanted to do instead of all these other things. It's holy shit. Hazy's doing well. We have to make hazy. Hazies are selling. So that's that. And then I think just on the heels of that. Now, that's not to say there weren't true lovers of hazy who were doing it. I'm saying there was a flood of hazy.
I think it was also breweries thought hazy was a fad, and so they thought the next wave of the fad was the brewed IPA. It was like the response to these like thicker, sweeter things happening.
But also a fad is something that like you can kind of ignore, but I think people were worried that it was going to become the next hazy and we can't be behind on this one. This one we
you mean
can't
brew?
get caught
Was gonna
flat-footed
be the
on.
next
Yeah.
hazy?
yeah.
Is why it became a thing, and then when it didn't, it just kind of...
Well, it was
And I think people thought hazy was going to go away. Like they were making them, but they're like, well, that came up so quickly, or like it was something we had not, or it's something we didn't want to do,
Or maybe
And now
some... I would think less go away. Same thing, actually, what I'm saying, but more be superseded
right?
by something else.
Sure.
Yeah, not like, oh, we hate these now, but there's nothing else. More like, you know, what in that movie Up, the dog who can talk and he just goes, he's talking and goes squirrel, and then his attention is like off to something else.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like that's what I think
but
people
also
are afraid of.
I would say like hazy had a lot longer of a runway to develop and change as a style to become what it is today. And it was also a style that a lot of larger breweries really struggled with in terms of making one that people liked.
Or really holding out.
Yeah, and also holding out. But Brute was one that seemed like a much easier application to do in a big brewery. Like you saw within 6 months, like Firestone Walkers and Sierra Nevadas pumping them out, like immediately. Because like, oh, this is like West Coast adjacent, and you just throw enzymes in and call it a day. Cool.
Right. I mean, it's essentially the light beer of IPA
Yeah.
in process. That's not similar in flavor, but it's like using those enzymes is how they make light beers.
And
Now-
it also came around the same time as there was a little bit of a interest in like low-cal beer and stuff like that to an extent. So like there's a lot of things that were in play with it where they were like, this is the next lightning in a bottle, and it's going to be like hazy. It wasn't though.
Right. It was like this will be the counter hazy. There'll be hazy and brute. Like these are going to be like the new East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I don't want to take this and be too grotesque about the infancy of the style, but like it didn't even have time to really become a style. It didn't have time to start getting like nobody knew what it was before they were making it. Nobody had a true one before they were
Right.
making their
Does it start
own.
in like San Francisco area?
Yeah,
like right in
Society.
California?
And what is it? What does
Well,
even
what?
a true one even mean, right?
Exactly.
It's
They
like-
didn't have time to be. Yeah.
You have, but that's the thing with a lot of modern styles with beer. They blow up so fast, so strong, and then they disappear overnight that a lot of the times there's like not a cohesive definition for it.
And how much of that do you think is people just it had a great name, right? Brute IPA is an interesting name, and it's evocative of something, and you kind of know what it means. You know it's gonna be like a dry IPA. And how much of it is it just people being like, okay, that's enough, and then they make shit like bad versions of it, or because I'm sure there was a good version of that to start with, or it wouldn't have become the thing it
Yeah.
was.
And what's the brewery who started it?
Wasn't it Society? It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. That's San
it was-
Diego. It was up in.
It was in San Francisco, I
It was
think.
San
right?
Francisco. I forget who.
remember.
But I've heard like, oh, the original one is was good, and it's telling that the four of us can't remember where that style started.
It became a style before it had any time to actually germinate and fully form.
Exactly.
Think
about hazy.
There's a media relationship too. People are starting to talk.
Couldn't agree
about
more.
Couldn't agree before it even has a chance to people kind of figure out what it is. So the moment it gets written about in an article is okay, this is what it is, and everyone's trying to pin it to that. And I do think Brut IPA. At Hopewell we did a couple, and for us it was oh, okay, here's a way to frame a hoppy beer in a way that jives with what we're doing as a brewery, which tends to be drier, easier drinking beers. Okay, fine, or not fine, but here's a style we can get. We actually got excited about Brut IPA. I fully admit, and I think. At the time, we were excited because it was the glut of hazy, and we weren't doing hazy at the time yet. So this is okay, fine. This is our entry into hoppy beers, or just not our entry. We were doing hoppy beers at the time, but this is our way to
new wave hoppy
beers.
Yeah.
And then looking back on it, it was Brut IPA was just at the time a response to the glut of sweeter, super hazy, fuller-bodied IPAs, and it was just in typical American craft beer fashion. It was just this super extreme reaction. It was reactionary,
right?
So, and at the end of the day, it's oh, we just wanted classic, call them West Coast or Midwest, whatever. We just wanted classic IPAs. That was just the course correction, and now we've kind of gotten to a point where it's a little bit more balanced, right? And I think that was just it was a signifier of where. The way that the trend would actually inevitably lead.
Well, I actually kind of to go on that. It was 2019 when it first started up. I did a quick little phone research in a couple seconds, but
no, it had to be before that.
It was
whatever.
Yeah. Anyways, so it was about that time. Anyways, and so I remember that time we were looking for West Coast IPAs around in Chicago and what was available, and we couldn't
get
find
them.
Anything.
Yeah,
there were a couple that were coming in, but they were old and busted by the time they were coming in.
Yep.
So there weren't any good examples of West Coast IPA you could even get in Chicago.
Can you imagine that? I mean, it's hard to. You couldn't get them, and that's the thing that was so upsetting to me was everything had gone, and people were why do you hate hazy? It's I don't hate hazy, but I don't only like hazy.
Right.
And that was really where it was going. My least favorite time in craft beer was that time, was the dominance of hazy.
It was an arms race in Chicago craft beer. It was who can make the hoppiest, craziest thing. And there was a lot of good stuff that came out of it. But, as someone who kind of was around when that was happening, and Hopewell wasn't doing them. I was just kind of observing as a consumer at that point and just knowing friends who in the industry who were brewing this stuff, and it was just an arms race. It was crazy. It was really exciting on one hand, but it was also it was very narrow.
All right, Mike. So resurrected or let it lie?
Oh, let it lie.
Let it
Piss
lie.
on its grave.
Okay. Desecrate it.
Yeah, desecrate.
Desecrate.
It just the
the
style.
corpse.
It had no chance of being a long-term thing. It was too dry. To make it the way it was supposed to be made, it just wasn't.
It was overcorrection. It was overcorrection for what we wanted, and which is just we want a dry IPA, but it doesn't need to be zero Plato.
Right.
And it can be 2 Plato and do the same thing and have a little bit more balance to it, right?
Yeah, it was a idea that was interesting in the shadow of hazy, but as an actual thing to drink, it just bury it deeper.
Okay. Anyone else? Resurrected, or I think you're let it die, right, Jake, or no?
Oh yeah. I think again, I think it brought up necessary kind of shifts, but where we landed is much better than.
Here's where I stand on it. I say resurrect it because I want to see what this style actually is. I think it's the only style I can think of, and if I might be able to come up with a different one, it's the only style I can think of where I don't know what that style tastes like because it was so divergent from all the versions I had that I don't even know what it was as a style. So I would like to have the original. I'd like to see what it's all about. I have no idea what a Brute IPA, what a good one is, what a bad one is. So I would say just for that reason, personally, I would like to try the best Brute IPA so I could make a decision on whether I like the style or not. How about you, Max?
I'd say let it die also. I mean, I had some that I liked, but all of them were still... And by there were a couple that I liked out of the dozens and dozens and dozens I tried. I thought most of them were, to be honest.
Oh, you had that many? Wow.
Oh, there were a lot. Every single brewery was making one for a minute there, so samples were coming in hot. And most of them were just really not good, to be honest. I mean, it's been enough years I can basically rag on most of these breweries. They were just
which ones?
Oh no. I and honestly, whenever there was a good one, it just made me want like a West Coast IPA, or even to an extent like an IPL or something like that.
I'm kind of with you. I kind of never had a good one. I guess maybe what you're taking from it, and maybe what I should take from it, is it's because there aren't any. But I tend to think if everyone's doing it, someone must have had one that they liked at some point.
I don't think so. I think it was more that brewers that were obstinate against hazy IPAs were like, yeah, you know what? We'll make the other version. We want to make the dry version because there's something noble in making beers that are so dry that it's almost undrinkable.
Well, at the same time,
I don't want to talk about my own breweries and such.
Yeah,
I mean, we make very dry beers, but
no. But I will
honestly,
say,
I wish that never mind.
But at the same time, I do think there was it's such a modern style too, because it hazy took New England / hazy took probably a better part of 5 to 10 years to kind of take off. Brute IPA probably took 5 months to take off, and that's not fair to that style. It's too fast that you can't.
And as you're saying,
that's a beer. That's a beer that is a new beer. That's not even Ufleku. That's not even Czech Dark Lager one beer.
Sure.
It's
one
literally
beer from a place we can't remember.
Right.
And as you were saying, you kind of didn't really know what it truly tasted like. And I remember talking to some breweries back then, and a lot of their mentality, a lot of the breweries' mentality were we made the exact same hazy IPA. Maybe we switched out the yeast, maybe. And then we just threw in enzyme and called it a day. It has all the tropical things you want from a hazy IPA, but now it's super dry. And it was this weird, it felt a lot of breweries took it as a lazy sort of new style that they were jumping on. I don't think a lot of them honestly put in true effort to really build up the style and make it its own. Research
the style. Oh, it's got these enzymes. Go for it.
Yeah,
Let's
because
do it.
whoever the original one was, which was social something or other, social...
The New York Times says it was Social Kitchen and Brewery.
Yeah. He basically laid out exactly how to make it, and it was very broad sort of thing, if I remember correctly.
Sure.
And so everyone was we'll take our exact same IPA that we have, our flagship IPA, and throw in enzyme, call it a day.
Right.
So I felt it was kind of lazy style.
The Japanese lager enzyme, I assume it is, that's super dry.
It's got
whatever. We don't.
It's just alpha amylase.
Okay, so who's got the next
Amyloglucosase.
dead style or styles?
I want to do a broad sweeping one. So I was kind of looking up.
Beer.
All right. So what is your next dead style, Max?
I was looking up BJCP because they are slow at changing styles.
Very clever to look there.
Because I thought it was kind of funny because I remember that there were a lot.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the current Beer Judge Certification Program style guidelines.
Oh yeah. I mean,
the definitive source for dead styles.
do you know how long it took them to get Milkshake IPA in there?
Is it even in there?
No, I don't think it is. So
it will be once it's fully dead.
It'll be in this overall category. So I got to 21B, which is specialty IPA. Now I'm going to list all of them.
List every single one of them.
Belgian IPA.
Dead.
Black IPA.
Dead.
Brown IPA.
Dead.
Red
Brown
IPA.
Dead.
Rye IPA.
Dead.
White IPA.
Dead.
And Brute IPA.
Oh my God.
Now,
That's 7 for 7.
That's a
Yeah.
fucking
And
great.
that's not even one. You didn't even need to.
Sorry,
there's
Serge.
none that you need to even think about.
Yeah,
it
I mean-
wasn't like is that no. Those were
the most
brown
Like,
IPA.
the-
I've never even heard of a brown
dog-
IPA.
what-
Dogfish Head,
Dogfish.
India Brown Ale, dog.
That's
India
one of the best
Brown
beers of
Ale.
all time.
It is.
Hot take Jake is.
That's it.
He's got a belly full of
India-
pizza now. He's
India Brown Ale
as spicy as that
is-
pepperoni.
Is did they call that a brown IPA?
India
though?
Brown
Indian
Ale.
Brown Ale.
Yeah, I'm like,
So I think-
yeah.
IBA. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It was a
Fine.
banger. That
It
beer-
was a banger.
That beer ruled.
That beer did
ruled.
roll.
Do they still make that?
No, they got rid of that like 5, 6,
That's
7
like
years ago.
I
Sam,
feel.
Sam, can
I'm
you hear
so
me?
upset that
Sam,
you can never
Sam,
have that again.
Sam, bring back Indian Brown Ale.
Sam
Yeah.
listens.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Sam.
Sam, if you bring back India Brown Ale, we'll give you so much 3-tiered merch.
Ooh, here I'm
We
gonna
should have a
list,
show one time about trends that Dogfish Head was like too far
ahead of.
ahead of. Like
Yeah.
the fruited IPA thing.
Yeah,
Like
Fort.
like
Maybe it shouldn't
no,
have been 10%
India, no,
alcohol.
Aprihop. They did
Oh,
that
yeah.
apricot. It was amazing.
But that was also no, I don't want to spoil
All right,
all their
let's-
future dead
okay.
styles.
all right. Let's,
so
yeah,
so actually I brought up some of the what BJCP says are like brown IPA just because I was kind of wondering. We actually carried 2 of these in the shop, not that long, maybe 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
So Dogfish India Brown Ale, obviously. The other one we carried was Grand Teton Bitch Creek.
oh yeah.
Yeah. So they exist. There were a few of them. But I think the most living style in all these is black IPA, which is wild, first off. But that
wonder-
only appears for like 3 months a year, maybe 2 months a year.
I wonder-
And for 1 year, will they come back this year?
They did this year and, well, 2023.
No, they came back last year, but will they come
Yeah.
this year?
I think so. I
I
think
don't
we'll see.
know.
We'll see some of them.
Yeah,
The
you
past
think?
few
Yeah.
years, you've gotten a small resurgence.
I think there's also like rye IPA probably just got folded into IPA. No one's calling out rye anymore. Like it's not Red's rye IPA, which is it's combining 2 dead styles. It's a double dead style. But people are using rye and stuff, and like Months is a rye IPA, but they don't say it's a rye IPA.
Sure, but there used to be rye IPAs where the rye was like really a characteristic of it. Like Ruthless Rye had a ton of rye in it, and I'm pretty rye blind, but like if I can taste it, there's a lot of rye, and there were definitely beers like that that don't exist anymore. Like talk about a style that you cannot get, like except for maybe like the throwback variety pack from Sierra Nevada, which hey, kudos to them. Like start bringing that stuff
Do it again.
back. Not even in a variety pack. Just start like rotating in. Like do an autumnal, do a Ruthless Rye. But you can't get one. If someone said, I
But
want a
you-
rye IPA, we'd be like,
And just because
Like,
there's rye in the
what year did they defrost you from?
right?
I
We'd be like,
do-
all right,
no,
go
I do have a
fly
regular
to San
here.
Diego County and go get a Months.
And see no
Dude.
man ass beer.
I
dude.
would put
Exactly.
money on, and I don't know this for sure, but that Half Acre makes a beer every calendar year that has enough rye to be what we would consider a rye IPA, but they don't call it that.
Right,
I don't
no,
know what
I-
it is,
I-
but
there's
those
rye-
boys love their rye.
Rye is being used and not being called out. 100%.
So that's one that just like kind of
Right,
the style
right.
is not really
It's not-
its own
a lot of it
distinctive
is too
style.
tight.
Well,
like
rye
the
is a
marketability,
grain.
right?
Rye is a grain versus a rye IPA. I think is a little different
okay,
in my
I think
mind.
that rye IPA got so tied up in the color of it too, like the adding caramel malt, because rye itself doesn't really change the color of your beer.
So let's move on then. So there's
we
other
go-
specialty IPAs.
Yeah.
White IPA.
White
Rip,
IPA.
Rip Chainbreaker.
Chainbreaker.
Chainbreaker was a great beer.
Yeah. But what makes it a white IPA?
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of those things
Wheat.
of like
These
it's just
beers could be
too
out in the world. They're
confusing.
just not being marketed that
Just
way,
a
right?
wheat
Like,
IPA?
That's part of it.
Yeah.
So
it was
Gumball
like-
Head is a white IPA.
No, that's American Wheat Ale.
Pale
Come
ale.
on.
Pale ale. That's a
Oh, no,
pale
no, you're right. It's
Yeah,
a
right.
pale ale.
That is
That's
definitely a pale ale.
Yeah,
It has
right,
a pale
of course.
wheat ale.
Pale wheat ale. Stupid.
Yeah, here, 3 Floyd,
The
stupid.
one, yeah.
It's not even the best pale wheat ale that has been produced in the area in the last 10 years.
So
That'd
go
be a
to
Curry
BJ. Do you
Shogun.
have your BJCP up? Can you pull that up?
Yeah,
or
pull it up again.
Do you have your BJCP app? I do.
don't have the
You have your
app,
BJCP
but-
app?
I have an app.
Oh, damn, dude. Why do they have an app?
Yeah, which
Because-
guidelines are you talking about here?
So
2015?
you can whip out.
I just pulled up the latest one.
Okay. Yeah, it's so a white IPA looks like it's a derivative of a Belgian style.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Belgian
Okay, so they
IPA.
would have like a wit yeast.
Yeah.
Like a wit.
Yeah,
Okay.
Belgian IPA. That's that.
Yeah,
It's a
bury that
variation
under
of that.
the.
So it's a wit IPA. I get it. Makes
Sure.
sense.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a white beer, but with American hops. It's a Belgian white ale with
Yeah.
American hops.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, how different is that from a Belgian IPA?
You know what's a crazy
different.
commercial example here?
Glaucus.
You're not gonna
Lagunitas.
get the bubble gum.
Lagunitas, a little something something, is listed as a white IPA for this.
that's a wheat pale
which
ale.
is
No,
absolutely
that's a
awesome.
gumball
That's a
head.
Belgian IPA.
No, it is listed as a specialty
That's
IPA.
gumball. That's a
white
gumball
IPA
head. Same
on
category as
BJCP.
gumball head.
I wonder if at one point it had a Belgian yeast and
And
there's like.
Totally did.
Okay,
100% it
New
did.
Belgium
Definitely
accumulation.
doesn't. If they still
Yeah,
still
it's
make
not
that
having
beer.
Belgian yeast right now.
Definitely not.
No, no.
If it does, it's so low,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
low in ester. Or
It 100% used
Did.
to.
Yeah,
Oh
for
my
sure.
god.
Yeah,
It-
back
in
it-
the day, yeah.
No doubt about it. It
Yeah.
used to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Belgian and the wit,
White IPA. Yeah.
white IPA, black IPA still somewhat living. We'll see. I think it's yeah. I mean, if I could, okay, we'll get to if we could bring any of them. Brown, Brute. What are the others, Max?
Red.
We said
Red.
red IPAs.
And an example of that is Troig's Nugget Nectar. I haven't had that beer in a second.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of these things just have gotten smushed into IPA.
Yeah.
like they've changed the grain bill a little bit or whatever. They're like, I don't think Nugget Nectar calls itself a red IPA
Well,
anymore.
It doesn't.
This also could be a BJCP thing where they maybe I don't think did they ever call that a red IPA as
I don't know.
the branding of it. BJCP was like, it's a little darker than some of the other ones. I don't want to be a red IPA. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember. What are some other red IPAs?
Oh, well.
Or does anyone remember any? I remember like hoppy red ales.
I feel like
like
a lot of
yeah.
them came from the
Blood of the
Pacific
Absolutely.
Blood of the
Northwest.
Unicorn, baby.
No, there was an amazing one. There was hop red rye or something from Green Flash. They had
That's a rye. Is that a red
they
IPA
had
or a
an
rye
amazing
IPA?
one. It's probably both.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was great.
Yeah, I mean,
there was also hop rod. I think was from
Racer
Bear
5,
Republic.
or Bear 5, yeah. Or Bear 5.
Bear Republic, yeah.
I think
that one was
I think
great.
a lot of these styles of IPA and whatever they end up getting called will come back in some form or another. So I could say we could say that they're dormant, but I don't know that I would call them dead in the
I'd
sense of
call
like
them. I mean, maybe mummified. I don't know.
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
here's the other thing. I think those red and those ryes, especially the reds, like some of them, I think they hold on to booze so much better. There's so much like that fullness needs a stronger alcohol. They need to be 7.5%, 8.5%. I think to just taste complete. And if you start doing them at like 5%, I'm curious if they would like have that same kind of complete flavor to them.
Also,
I mean, it probably doesn't balance at that lower level, right?
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
fullness of rye and
Right.
or the sweetness of the grain required to make something red
Yeah.
it requires more.
and a lot of these also are very much in kind of like the general idea of like a Midwest style IPA in a way,
They're
where
all kind
like
of circling around it.
yeah, where it's like it's that is definitely a style that's kind of like much more like fallen off. Like people care about West Coast IPAs, but like the bigger malt bill IPAs are just so still out of style. I mean, outside of like your standbys like Sierra Nevada and
Yeah.
stuff, but
All right. So
Can we run
Sorry.
through these real
That's what I was
quick
gonna
and
say.
say,
Let's run through 'em.
Say dead and bring it back, or let it.
let's do all of
keep
them.
it
So
dead?
run through that same list that you had gone
all right,
through
we'll
before,
just do
Max.
so. Belgian, tough.
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely,
so-
definitely dead. Let it stay dead.
Belgian stays dead.
Yeah. What do you think? I
What do I
never
think?
had a good one. I really
The
liked.
Ronk.
The Rock Double X. Yeah, I was gonna
is
say.
so good.
But that's
That can
not.
stay.
No, that's not.
That is
literally
the,
says-
that is the.
Yeah.
That is the.
Well, you do Hublot
Belgian
Chef?
IPA.
That's not dead.
You're thinking of like Stone Belgo IPA.
Yeah, dude.
Die.
That's
that
what,
can die.
Yeah,
That
agreed.
can die.
Yeah.
Well,
That
okay, no,
can
no,
die.
let's reverse it.
if it's
We-
actually Durank, then
we were
yeah.
we were
but
talking
that,
about this as American breweries.
Yeah,
So-
the American Belgian IPA, I think stays
There,
dead.
stays dead.
That,
Stays
that
dead. I say
bubblegum IPA
Yes.
stays
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah. Let
Not
it- let
bubblegum
it stay
face.
dead.
I love that beer.
Bubblegum Face is the top beer of
Die.
all time.
All right.
Yeah.
Black IPA.
Keep it.
Keep it.
Keep it.
Keep it.
Yep.
Brown IPA.
Keep it.
Keep it. Bring it back.
Bring it back. Sam, bring it back.
I mean, I would like. So here's what I'm going to
That's
say.
I'm saying
for-
that's
I'd
got
say bring it
Hobo
back.
beer
Most
written all
of
over
them.
it.
We're gonna
I'm going to
we're
say
make one.
bring it
Let's
back
go.
too. But here's the
You wanna
thing.
make a
I
collab?
think
Collab with this
most
one?
of
Hell
these
yeah.
styles, I am going to say,
Brown Belgo IPA.
bring it back. But I don't think everybody needs to make them. I
No,
think
no,
it
that's
can
not-
be
no,
the
we're not-
specialty
we didn't say
of
that.
just like, no, I know. I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying bring it back, but just like even if like so what about like Raging Bitch? Like Raging Bitch is not a bad beer.
What kind
It's
of
a,
beer is
Bel-
that?
it's a Belgian IPA.
IPA.
Not a good beer.
I
Either,
haven't had
though.
it in a while.
Flying
We
Dog.
should
Yes,
probably we should probably try to get one
Wait,
because
okay.
and
I thought
see
they
if we
closed.
no,
No.
they did no they're still
You're
around.
thinking of Smutty Nose.
Yeah.
There's a good
So,
chance.
like,
you're
you
saying
know.
you're saying no. Okay, you don't want too many people to bring it back. There's a good chance that some brewery is making these styles all over the world
and
That's the
crushing
thing.
it.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
sure somebody's
so it's
crushing
like-
a Belgian,
are-
an
so-
American
But in the broad
style
side-
Are these
Belgian
styles
IPA.
actually dead?
I don't
But
know.
it's like-
I don't know
they're
about
dead.
that.
They're
But
dead.
they're not like available. Like I
They're
can't
dead
like,
enough.
I
They're
can't on a
dead.
normal week
For the
go,
purpose of this podcast, they're dead.
Yeah, but I can't go to like any distributor in Chicago and be like, "Hey, I'm looking for a white IPA." I wouldn't find one.
Right.
A brown
so,
IPA. I mean,
so anyways,
they're
so we
gone.
were at brown IPA. Let's go into red IPA. Let it live.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, no, red IPAs can be great.
whoever wants to make them, make them. But
Yeah,
I'm
guess.
not dying to. I don't want to have one.
I like them every
Yeah.
once in a while.
I'm not. I'm agnostic to.
Yeah.
Yeah, red IPA, rye IPA.
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
100%.
Bring it
Ruthless
back.
Rye, bring it back.
Bring it back.
Bring
Yeah.
it back.
In a big way.
White IPA, absolutely bring it back.
I think you can let it die. Keep it dead.
I don't really know what a white IPA is yet.
It's like a Belgian IPA with wheat.
Yeah, it's like a whip.
Bring it
what we
back.
Hoppy whip.
So it's wit. So it's got
Bring
like
it
it's got
back.
like coriander, orange peel.
Yeah. well,
Yeah,
I don't.
It can.
You can, but I don't think that it necessarily.
I think
had-
Chain
Hoppy
Breaker
wit.
did.
I like. I mean,
Yeah.
I like wits.
Yeah,
We're
I
talking
like
about hoppy
wits.
wit. Is that what we're
but,
saying?
but why don't we just have a wit then?
right.
Why do we need it to be a white IPA?
Right.
Why
I
not?
think just let the white IPA be dead.
So it keeps going back to this like kind of framing of the beers and the marketing around it, right? Is like
Why not? I want a hef
They're-
IPA.
Also, the best
this
white,
one- I want a hef
the best white
IPA.
IPA is actually probably just a wit.
I want someone.
Right.
To
You know what the-
This
make-
category is also just like proof that American hops don't make every style better, right? Like,
Of course. Yeah. If you're
Okay.
listening to this, that goes without saying. Our listeners know.
So I
We
said
love our listeners,
yes.
don't
I
we,
said
folks?
resurrect everything, and I was agnostic about the red. So,
And then Brew was in there.
but I'd also talked about how great the red was earlier. So, I think all styles can be done really well.
Okay, what's the style
all right,
that
but in,
this
in this
doesn't need to
scenario,
exist?
there's
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
breweries that are making good and bad versions of it, and they're going to come in here and try to get you to buy them. That's if you resurrect,
so-
if you resurrect it, you're going to have to deal with that.
So all
these
styles
are-
can be good.
Like, so if it's resurrected, it's an attempt for it to all be the hot new style.
No.
I mean, geez.
Not necessarily, but you're going to have to drink some bad versions of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you
It's
gotta-
not like we only get one. That's not like we just get India brown ale again. We have
Got
to.
it.
There's going to be bad versions too.
You got to drink
Okay.
the bad milkshake IPA so you get the good milkshake IPA.
That's true. That's a scientific fact.
It's true. Well,
That
we
you know better than
IPA.
anyone.
we got
Sour
we got
IPA. Sour
450
IPA.
on the shelf.
would
We
never
just did
live.
physical
Oh no, that's a
inventory.
smoothie. It's not a. It's
Sour
different.
IPA dead.
Oh,
That's not.
man,
That's
not a
my
milkshake.
bad. My bad. I messed up.
so
Silly
different.
goose.
Damn it. I
All right,
messed up.
so
I've had a
All right,
good
what are the
milkshake
IPAs?
IPA, by the way.
what was your favorite milkshake IPA? Is that a dead style?
What's it called? It's not called hen. Is it henna?
Hennepin?
No, not hennepin.
From
The Pollo one.
Oh,
is it called henna? No,
Or has henna, that's
Henna
a
is a
style.
barrel aged.
Yeah,
style.
you're thinking of the mango lassi one.
Nope. I'm not. I'm thinking of their
Well, they invented the milkshake IPA, didn't they?
Yeah. Wasn't it called?
Well, I mean, Apocalypse Cow existed.
It's a lactose IPA.
Wow.
Tasty
Is that a specialty
waves,
IPA, or
dude.
is it different?
I don't know.
I think it was
Google
called-
the BJCP.
Hilma.
So is milkshake IPA a dead style?
I'd say yes. Or if
It's
it's
certainly
if it's
waned.
very
But
strong,
It's certainly
sit down.
waned. quite
once
a
it
bit.
does, once it does die, I could see it being laid to rest for a long time.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're gonna take it out back, and you're gonna bury it.
If I,
We're gonna yellow this.
God willing, Mike.
God willing.
God willing.
The milkshake.
Milkshake.
Yeah, I
think it needs to die for a while at least. Give it like 10, 15 years before it even touches the.
I think there's
I
also
would
10,
say-
15 years?
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
all
long
it
time,
needs.
dude. That's a really long.
That's a long time.
Give it like 10, 15 months.
I would say when I say die, do I mean there's literally none? No, but I say yeah, that style needs to die. I'm cool with a couple people doing it, but overall needs to die. I think it'll become better if only a couple people are doing it too.
Yeah.
because those people are actually going to
They
care.
care about it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it can be done well. I think it's more of I think it's more of a proto milkshake is
What
the
is it?
Hilma, the Beyond the Pollo. I think it's kind of inspired Tired Hands to do theirs.
Sure.
But it's it was what was it? A double IPA, vanilla burger bun, crispy fries, Imperial India.
You cannot say
Pale
vanilla
Ale.
burger bun in a sentence. And,
You
There's a
can.
comma there, but you know.
I've had it.
What does that
and-
mean?
And it's
well, there's
good.
vanilla, and then there's burger buns in it.
Oh,
You've probably had it
there's,
too.
It's not like vanilla
Just the
flavored
phrase
burger
vanilla
bun.
burger bun is really funny to me. I don't
It was supposed to be. So the idea of it was it was
It's
supposed to
it's
be
burger,
like
fries, and milkshake, right?
burger fries and milkshake. Burger fries milkshake. is
Without
what
the
it was
meat,
supposed
you
to do.
know.
the meat.
So vanilla.
It's a
Twin
hilarious
cheese.
thing to think about, like these Swedish people, like, what's America like? And they're like, let's put America in a beer. They're like, well,
Right.
burgers, fries, and milkshake. These fat
How do we
fucks.
encapsulate America's dumbass taste in beer?
It's now it
here we
feels
go.
more antagonistic.
Yeah.
These idiots will drink it.
And we
But
will.
Mike,
We do.
I'm telling you, if you had that beer, I don't know what it tastes like now, but if you had it then, you would have liked it.
I'm sure.
Because
It's
that brewery, more than any brewery, has me do the, oh man, what the hell? What? This, like,
Yeah.
this is bullshit, man. And then you drink it and you're like, you sons of bitch. Like, how? Yes. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
Well,
good.
Yeah.
also like they were like absolutely the trendsetters for a bunch of those gimmicky
Yes.
sort of things,
Yes.
and they were doing them pretty well.
That German
So-
chocolate cake stout, like, that stuff
Yeah.
was just like insanity.
So like they had almost nobody else who was on their level when they were
Yeah.
doing that 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
And I'm very pro whoever's the first through the wall with weird stuff like that, right? Like,
Yeah.
even if it's gimmicky, like if you're the first person to actually do that, or like the first to like really take it to the point you take
Well, not
it
even
to.
not even that. Just
then-
like having intention, right?
Right.
And like a perspective of how you're gonna get there. Like, yeah, kudos to that. If you're gonna go out with a concept and you're gonna take the time to actually nail it, yeah, hell yeah, I love that.
And invent it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
Right.
invent it.
Right. That
know?
that is always like, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But
Yeah.
now when when a style turns into something where it's like, well, we saw this getting high ratings on Untapped from other breweries, so we decided to make one. That's when it's like, yeah, this is
Yeah, and
this is
Or even
Hazy's
derivative.
probably
the shark is
right.
swimming around
Derivative.
the jump.
Too.
Hazy is probably
Like,
the one that
Yeah.
happened to the most, right? That's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Okay.
that has the most like glomming onto.
Are we
about-
so milkshake? We're saying needs to die. But
Let it stay dead.
so what
But I
else?
think it's already
Except
on a big
for-
downturn.
Yeah.
So.
What are some other dead
Ooh,
styles?
this was brought up a little bit earlier, but I want to
Mm-hmm.
touch on it. Smash, which is not really a style, I would say, but like I think that it warrants to bring
Yeah.
it up.
Smash beer, single malt, single hop.
Yeah, that
I
used
love
to be
that.
such
I want more
a
of that.
thing that was marketed all the time. I remember Lakefront had a rotating one that was really cool to always grab.
Yep.
But like that was such a thing that was like everyone talked about it. Even some early beers that still exist nowadays.
Beer
were early.
hates astronauts. Was
Yeah,
a
beer
smash
hates
beer.
astronaut used to
Citra.
be.
Was a smash beer.
Yeah. some of these beers were super cool back in the day. You could individually pick out. I mean, obviously, hop harvest and where they're grown, blah blah blah. I get it, different. But it's always cool to get that like unique individual, just these ingredients.
Yeah, like
Bring it
an
back.
expression.
Bring it back.
I'd love to
It's
see that.
So just like every single IPA.
We ran
now-
out of good hops though to use. I think a lot of these like new school
not
hops.
true.
In a single hop application, I think there's.
I'm going to go to my favorite smash beer that I can think of.
Mount Hood.
You're not far off.
Yeah.
It was the Green Flash Kent
Yep.
Golding's
Yep.
smash beer. And
sounds great.
It blew my mind. I drank 3 6-packs. It came in like, it was like in and out, and I drank 3 6-packs of it. And I do not drink beer like that. Like it's the same, especially back then, the same beer. I was like, this beer's amazing.
Is the role of the smash?
Changed my whole outlook on English hops. So to me, for that reason alone, I'm sure there's other hops that could Mount Hood, for example, or other grain.
Is the role of the smash beer though now being relatively fulfilled by well-made lager, that are just like Pilsner malts and
Maris Otter.
I do love
That's
the
what
idea
Beer
of
Haze
launching
Astronauts was. It was
an
Citra and
IPA.
Maris Otter.
it was Vienna.
I love the idea of launching an
Was it
IPA
Vienna?
and the hop is Mount
Sorry.
Hood, and I'm trying to market that. That's crazy. Good on them for doing that because it seems like a tall task to come out with an IPA and be like, yeah, it's got Mount Hood.
It's not
Buy
an
it.
IPA, it's a smash
Right.
beer.
Well, okay, sure, whatever.
It could be a smash, whatever.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my point was that there's a lot of newer hops that are being presented and sold and just have. My take is like a lot of the newer hops in the last 5-6 years, none of them have really come close to like the heyday of what we got in like 2008 to 2012 or before
Well, that was
even.
the Beatles of hops, right?
Right.
Well,
But like
also-
that's why that stuff was good, though.
like,
It's
man, they made Citra
of
and
course.
Mosaic on the
Mosaic,
same
Citra,
album?
Nelson, Galaxy, all that stuff. It's like, the post 2016 stuff is like, not quite there.
The thing about all those hops is that they had been being bred since like
Yeah.
the 80s.
Yeah, for sure.
And now they're like, well, we got it. It's not dissimilar from how we talk and think about breweries being like, well, we just got to make a new hop combination. Where like the hop breeding program is like, well, this one's pretty good. Let's put that one out there. I'm sure it's being a little flippant about it, but when something like Citra has existed since like the mid 80s or Mosaic has existed for a long time in the breeding program, and then all of a sudden we discover them, it's like different than now. There's like, well, we know there's a market for new hops, like,
Right, and there's people trying to tell you all the time that's the new Citra or whatever, but it's
yeah, it's like
I
the,
lo-
it's like the
It's
Uber
not.
for toothbrushes.
I mean, Mosaic and
It's like-
Citra are
right.
still like
Maybe-
the two best new hops to have come
Right,
onto
right,
the
yeah,
market.
they're-
HBC 286
And they're not new.
is a new one.
yeah.
Now, I want to define for the true geeks out there. I want to define smash beer. We're not talking about like Saison DuPont, which very well may have one hop, one grain. I mean, it very well may, and there's probably plenty of beautiful lagers out there that have one malt, one grain. We're talking about an ale, right? And a hoppy ale, like a pale ale or an IPA. I think a smash beer has to be like a pale ale or an IPA.
This very much comes out of like the home brewing tradition.
Yeah.
The like more the process than the result be driving what you're doing.
Yeah. All right, so let them die or resurrect them? What do you say, Mike?
I think you let them die. I think you can make better beers not doing that.
Okay.
I say let them bring them back because I know that the process of getting to beer is different nowadays than when I did, but I think that having those examples were such a cool learning experience as a new beer drinker, and I think that's like I said, like there is a lot of variance to it, and so we know that, but like it's a way to break it down to as minimal as possible to be able to taste stuff. I think that's a very interesting way to.
I agree. I say
experience.
bring them back. Keep them around. Bring them back. Is what
Jake?
I say.
Yeah, super educational, really, really fun. On the business side, I don't think we'd make them. But personally, I'd like to see more of them.
Yeah.
Just from a
How about
consumption standpoint.
for anyone have another style? I have one. If there isn't one, okay.
Go for it.
I mean, I think one of the elephants in the room is amber ale. I mean that style is just
The king of the brew pub styles.
dead as dead could be. What amber ales can you think of? I can think of
Got one.
2.
I got
You know what's
one.
funny is I can think of a couple that people always reference, but they're not necessarily ales. Like, isn't Elliot Ness technically a lager? That's an amber lager.
Yes, that's not an amber ale.
No.
I can think of Bell's Amber
Yeah, Bell's
and
Amber.
and
Boont.
Boont. Those
yeah,
are the 2.
Boone. Yeah.
Those are the 2 I was thinking of.
That's
I'm
it.
sure there's
That-
more, but those are the 2 I can think of.
That's all I can think of. Like, yeah, there's no local amber ale in Chicago right now.
No. And it's also one of those styles that I don't think there's any marketability in terms of package for it. But how often when I'm bartending, I get asked, what kind of amber ale do you have? And I know that this is a very broad...
How old are these people?
I was about to get to that.
Okay.
I know this is a very broad sort of term that a lot of people, especially who are older, who are trying to drink beer, use.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what they're asking for. But it is a
What
very
are they asking for?
just something that's not overly aggressively, intensely hopped or anything like that, generally
Yeah.
with a little bit of malt profile.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it could range from at most malt, it'd be like a brown ale. At most hoppy, it'd be like a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. They'd be fine with some lagers and stuff like that, technically. Like a Vienna lager, they'd be good with.
Mm-hmm.
Things of that range. But it's also like a very it's a very approachable beer. That's the thing across the board.
As a broader category, amber beers, I think, are going to absolutely start to take off this year. I think you're going to see a lot more of them. And whether they're ales or lagers or however the position, I think you're going to see darker beers start to take hold a little bit. And that might just be, we've talked about Czech Dark Lager on the show before, but I think beers with more of a malt presence and darker are going to start being brewed and then appreciated. I think. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think we've trended kind of very far into the pale category, light, easy drinking with the lagers and stuff, and that's super exciting. But I think the next sort of evolution of that is some color and depth and malt.
I've been kind of mentioning for the past 6 months to people around me where I see it's a very the broad range of style I see people at least coming to Beer Temple drinking is very much more in the consistent lower ABV drinkable styles, not necessarily super hoppy or anything like that. And I think amber ales is kind of the basic umbrella of it. And I kind of joked, it's a lot of those brew pub style beers that you'd find 10, 15 years ago that are very, very quote unquote dad beers. I think people are kind of going to swing back to those a little bit. I don't think it's going to be the biggest thing, but I think with how the age of the craft beer drinkers, they're what's the average age of the craft beer drinker at this point? 35 or something?
Right, who knows?
They're
Yeah.
not kids anymore. These individuals kind of are going back to the styles that were kind of more interesting back
Boston
then.
Lager is going to regret lightning.
Right, at the wrong time.
It's they went they jumped the shark way too late, and
You
it's
can always bring it back and have
right
it.
when it's
They
about to
can
come
cook
back.
classic it.
Original
Yeah.
recipe. Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah,
Fat Tire. They
same
also
thing.
changed the same thing.
They shouldn't have.
And
in my
I
opinion.
think that they're those sort of things are probably on the I think they're on their way up to back being. Well, they're not going to be the main thing, like I said, but I think that they're definitely going to have some pull through.
Yeah,
I think there's interest in it. I mean, when I think of myself and what I want to drink at a normal night, I don't want anything intense. I don't want to finish up a day of work and then go home and drink a double IPA or anything like that.
People aren't out there searching for intense flavors as
No.
much as they used to be.
I-
There certainly are those people, but Yeah, like when people are out buying beer, most of the time it's like, I want things I know that that are gonna deliver. People
For
Right.
breweries that they trust.
Yeah,
and those,
and especially at this
that's
point
amber
in time.
ales.
Like I think like with you want to get into broader scope things outside of just beer. It's like with the economy where it is, where people are having to pay back their student loans as of a handful of months ago. Like those sort of more consistent, lower cost, like the ones that they know they can trust, as opposed to the flavor of the week that costs $20. So
I'll also I'll add to that and say I think the amber ale needs to go the way of what you, Mike, and you, Jake, were saying. Maybe rye has gone, where it needs to just maybe like be integrated more malt character without like calling it out as an amber.
Sure.
Because that style
Yeah, I remember when we were doing
I think it needs a rebrand.
the blind tasting part of like the Jep BRD. Boone Amber was one of the ones we were blind tasting, and I was like, "This is like an American pale ale or something."
Yeah, you loved it.
I really liked it, but it was also like, I think it kind of is that like, and they might have always been more of like the ways to like kind of Trojan horse hop flavors into people that like wanted a maltier beer, right? Yeah, I thought it was like it was drinking like a maltier American pale ale is what I thought it was. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't look all that dissimilar from Sierra Nevada. It's a little bit darker than that, right? But amber ale, baby, bring it back.
So would it make sense to loop it under that then? I kind of think of it in the way when you mentioned that, how a lot of English-style beers that have been made in the past year oftentimes are being called just like pub ales, just as like a general thing.
Yeah, I think so much of beer is just how it's framed and
I'm with you.
putting it in a context where the person drinking it knows how to appreciate it or like what to judge it against. Yeah, pub ale I think is like super fun. It's not reductive either, in my opinion. It's
It's evocative and broad.
yeah,
enough
exactly. That to me, that's cool. That's where craft beer is going, is more experiential and less like in like the pedantic sort of space of like, this is technically a mild, not whatever.
Totally.
I think that's super silly, and like it's also like that's antagonistic to like where beer is in general as it's existed all like in history. Like beer has evolved. We've called beers at certain times different things than they're called now, and it's at the end of the day, it is. You can call it a marketing term, but I think good beer is about obviously the liquid, but then you got to be able to present it in a way that someone's going to understand and appreciate it, and that's
I think bitter, whatever, like pale ale, a British pale ale is a bitter. It still is what I think many people want to drink, and they just don't know it.
Yeah.
I mean, for all the joking about mild, bitter is where it's at. Like that style is excellent. It's great on cask. It's great on draft. It's good in bottles.
Good with food. It's good.
Yeah,
on
it's
its
good.
own.
It's just like it's not sweet. It's not dry. It's hoppy. It's not overly hoppy. It's just a great pale ale. It's pale ale is what it is. And I think pale ale with a nice kind of biscuity hint to it, not smashing you in the face. But, I mean, bitter is dead. And, so let's go there. Bitter. Bitter is dead. I know it's kind of like resurrecting, like
little bit of bubbling.
It's like in Thriller, like the hands are coming up out of the dirt, the dead zombie hands. And that style, I think, is a style that people want to drink, but it needs to be rebranded because it's especially in the colder months, it's very good, and people really like it.
Yeah, and I think that's been something that we've kind of talked about at Beer Temple a lot.
And not ESB. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm talking bitter.
Yeah.
Not the ESB, not the bigger, sweeter version, but regular bitter. Yeah.
Because I know we brought up a number of times where it's like, it's kind of goofy how consistent every single brewery is like, but our brewers like to drink Pilsner when they're off of work.
Right.
And in all reality, I know that's not 100% true. I mean, that's like, it's just like built up, like every single brewery has to say that to fit like a mold in a way.
Or shift beer. Yeah.
Yeah. But I know that like when it comes down to it, like a lot of it's just because it's a simple lower ABV thing. And that's like the basic of it. And it's like, yeah,
Right.
true. But I would just maybe my personal preference, I could probably drink more basic bitter than I could a Pilsner any day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it fits more year round.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, it's just a style that I think deserves more respect in terms of what people actually,
Right.
the volume of people drink that of.
Now, I think it needs, again, to ditch the name
Oh, yeah.
and
The
just
name is-
call it even like pub ale or whatever. I think it just needs it. Maybe like doesn't even need a name. Just like give it the name of the beer. Just call it like, you know, dartboard.
Dartboard.
I'm like literally looking at the dartboard and just like just call it dartboard. This is and not like dartboard ale.
They messed up compared to the Germans. Germans had a way better approach to naming the styles of the beer than the English.
Just name it
did.
after where it's from.
Yeah, or just like that it's light, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
Well-
or like whatever, you know, it's...
It was comparatively. I mean, it had a little bit more bitterness than some other things. But,
yeah, but
you know,
that's two in the weeds right there.
Yeah.
You're already getting two in the weeds. Like in Germany or other regions, it was like, this is the beer from the area.
yeah.
I think English beer maybe suffers from a little bit too... just getting in the weeds a little bit.
They're making a bunch of different beers in the same area, though. So, like,
Sure, but but same could be said about Germany with like pilsners or
This is the light. This is the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I think like the imperial system, to them it was maybe simplified, but to everyone else, you're like, what? That's like, no, well, because bitter is pale ale. They're
Right,
the
yeah,
same
yeah.
style.
wow, it was called English.
According
Pale Ale.
to Martin Cornell, they are the same style. Therefore, they are the same style. Until someone can convince me they're not.
What's up, Ron Pattinson? Where you at?
Yeah. So like, call it like Yorkshire Pale. No, don't call it that. But like, call it like
Pudding style ale.
no. But I'm saying like if in the same way that
Back to
like
pastry style.
Czech Pale Lager,
Pastry
Czech.
bitter.
Call it like
English Pale Ale.
English Pale Ale, but it doesn't have the exoticness.
What about like English running beer?
Well, I think pale ale is like super loaded for Americans,
Sure.
right?
But-
I think that's
I don't
a
think-
problem. It's like so not that's not to
Isn't this
be.
what we've been calling pub ales? Is this not what we're calling pub ales? Didn't we solve this one?
But
no,
yeah,
I think it should be called pub ales.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I think pub ales
Yeah.
is the most evocative.
pub ale,
Like, nobody.
Welsh ale, or just like name something.
English ale, just like
I think. Yeah, I mean,
is English not cool?
I would go. Yeah, I think it's not cool. I think you got to go more like specific to pique somebody's interest. You
Yeah,
know,
their
well, what's
names are
interesting
so
about
goofy.
English
Yorkshire
beer
ale.
is the pub culture,
Burton.
right? Is
Burton ale,
yeah.
Burton ale. Yeah, that's
So that's
too,
IPA.
Burton on Trent.
We're too far gone. We're too far gone to
Yeah.
like do any of that specifics.
Call it
right?
Burton ale. Call it a Burton ale. Probably,
I mean, I think
Cornell wouldn't be like, well, the true bitters weren't from there. Those were from. No, I think they were actually. I take it back. All right. Any other
Bring back every single style of English ale.
What about white stout?
white stuff?
Well,
Die.
hey,
Die.
they literally
Never
just
came
they
back, dude.
just I think discontinued Dragon's Milk White recently.
Okay.
At least the distributor in Chicago stopped carrying it within the past like month. And if they did, I'm guessing it's probably discontinued.
Dunzo.
Yeah.
Dunzo.
And that was the
I
last.
remember
like,
Casper
hold on.
from a brewery. I mean, it was like in Montana, maybe. Do you guys remember this beer?
I do.
It was in
Yeah.
cans.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It
2000.
had like a bison on
Yep,
it, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who made that beer? Can we,
Big Sky.
Jamie? Can you pull that up?
No, I think it was like I don't even know if it was Montana. Wasn't it from like Iowa, or
Wyoming?
something, or
Casper?
Missouri? It was from Missouri. It was from Missouri.
I don't think I've ever had a white stout in my entire life where I'm like, man, I'm glad I drank that over another beer.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
that is a style that needs to die.
I don't think there's.
Doesn't
I don't-
ever need to be
it's
another
never-
one.
It's never been alive since like the 1860s.
No, it's
Well,
never
you
been
mean-
a style. It needs to die. American Stout.
Yeah.
So
I
the
could
peanut
do-
gallery, we forgot to mention that we've got Timmy Lasota.
Timmy Soda.
Timmy Lasota is in the peanut gallery.
From Television
He's saying
Brewing.
American Stout. Now, American Stout is dead.
Yeah.
There are examples of it. I think
All right, sorry.
Obsidian
Obsidian.
Stout.
Real
Can-
quick,
Yes,
JP's
please.
JP's White Stout, Casper White Stout. That's brewed at Stevens Point, Wisconsin.
Oh, Stevens Point.
God.
But that's not the one. The one with the bison on it.
Yeah.
is
That-
the one
that's
I
the
always
one.
think of.
That was
Oh, it's
tall
that is the
grass.
one.
Wasn't that
Is
tall
it?
grass?
Tall grass.
Tall grass is
Tall
Kansas.
grass, yes.
That's Buffalo.
Kansas.
That's Buffalo Sweat. That's a
Oh,
different beer.
yeah.
Different
That's a
beer.
brown ale, isn't it?
Oh.
Something like that.
Like moose.
Don't
that
test
was-
me
that
on
was
my
their
White
moose
Stout
drool.
knowledge here, Chris.
All right, I
Remember
believe
moose
This
drool?
one?
Yeah.
Oh, we have Moose Drool in
Remember,
the
we
shop
have
right
it on
now.
the shelf right now.
Hell yeah.
It's a good brown.
Yeah.
This one?
Not the best. It's good.
About Grand Teton, remember them?
Yeah.
We'd
Yeah,
already
that's
brought
the
them
one.
up.
They came. The
Grand
brewery?
Teton.
Yeah.
We brought them up.
Bitch Creek
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
for their hoppy brown, their brown IPA.
So wait, American Stout.
Can we expand on that a little bit and literally just say both American Stout and Porter?
No, we
Those are
can't.
different.
I think we have
Black
to.
beer.
Let's
They're
do one,
different.
then the other.
We're doing a pedantic show. We gotta stay pedantic.
Sure,
American
We'll
Stout.
go one to the other, but I'll have the same response for both.
American Stout, hoppy.
Yep.
Black IPA, you mean?
No.
No,
Oh no.
they're different.
Well,
They're
actually,
different.
sir,
Well, yeah.
Cascadian
but
Dark Ale?
but it's funny. They could be the same ABV. They could both be hoppy.
Same amount of hops,
same type
same
of
amount-
hops.
yeah, same-
Same color.
Right.
It's just you call something different.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I do
I don't
think so.
think you do think so.
Yes.
Okay. So you think like sublimely self-righteous is an American stout.
I'm saying some beers that are someone decided to call them American Stout or a black IPA could be interchangeable, and no one would push back on that.
I can
I
think
think
of one
somewhat
example.
silly. They've diverged since they've both kind of died.
I can think of one example that like would fit in both camps really well, and I think that Chris would probably agree with me.
Close
on this one.
encounters.
But what do you want to talk about? Alpha Clause. I think
Alpha
that's
Clause
like
be
that
both.
is the one that really kind of was the
Yeah.
preeminent like black IPA in a way. Like it really pushed the hoppiness to a different level.
Wookiee
for
Jack.
it. Well, yeah, I mean Wookiee Jack was labeled as a double black or black double IPA. But I wouldn't.
Wookiee Jack was
if they
not
had
a
called that
black.
a stout, I don't think anyone would have. They would have been like, "Oh, these guys are legendary in the space of like creating a stout in a different way." Like, would have been people would call that a stout.
I mean,
Fine.
if I was ordered a stout and I got Wookiee Jack, I would probably be like,
Oh,
"This
it's their
is
interpretation
pretty
of it."
hoppy."
Sure, fine, but that's the whole thing with styles, right? Is like it's
No.
it's
Deschutes
presentation how you frame
Obsidian.
it.
If you get Deschutes Obsidian when it's fresh, it's incredibly hoppy for a stout, but it is not a black IPA.
Right.
It's a stout.
Right. I
That's
think it's
like
like
a
I think
6%
it's the
stout.
type of hop character that's in those beers that
Perhaps.
differentiates it.
Perhaps.
Because like Obsidian is like minty and herbal, and
Which is my favorite.
but a lot of hop character. Whereas like the black IPA is more driven by these like more modern American.
Well, and
hops.
then you have the Alpha Clause, which is minty, and green and
There's just way
That's
less.
more of an American
There's
stout.
way fewer examples of the thing to say like, oh, it has like for black IPA to say that if it doesn't fit in this category, it doesn't doesn't fit this profile, therefore it's not that thing. Versus like a style like Pilsner, which has existed for
I don't,
hundreds of years.
I don't understand what you're.
I'm saying that like to me, it's interesting to me that people go, this isn't a black IPA. It doesn't fit into this category. Black IPA is so new that still is evolving as a concept to me.
But like, so you're saying that, but like, could I? That'd be like saying like, yeah, I think Jaeger's just an IPL.
well, I'm saying Pilsner is more established versus black IPA, right? I think.
Yeah, but
I still think there's more to like suss out with a black IPA as a concept than there is Pilsner necessarily. I think there's more up for debate. Like,
but also stout's been around for a very long time.
well, I'm saying okay, hop forward style, like a new American hop stout, like that. There's a blurring there that I'm not willing to say like, 100% if it has this character, it's that versus the other. Same thing with like IPLs, cold IPAs, all this stuff. It's like I can suss that out on a Pilsner on its traditional style that's been around for a long time. I'm happy to have that conversation. On newer styles, newer American styles, we're still in it. We're figuring that out. So I'm less like tied to that. Like if it doesn't have this particular hop character, it's not that versus the other.
I can see where you're coming from, and I think that like some of these things are probably blurring a lot of lines. But I do think that you can have. But nowadays, I think something has to be a certain level of hoppiness to be an IPA, and I think you can get a stout that has a American hop characteristic to it, and is of an IPA or lower or a pale ale ABV. That is something that is sorely missing from the market right now. It's just it's not as hoppy as an IPA. It has an assertive character to it, kind of like an amber would be. Like nobody's saying like ambers are IPAs. I guess they're hoppy, but like I think these American stouts were in that progression. They were in that they were assertive in hop character, and they were. And I think and then you have these black IPAs where it's like Sublimely Self-Righteous and Wookie Jack were just explosions of hops. Those beers were so hop dominant. And I don't know if like Obsidian is hop. Maybe it's hop dominant. When it's super fresh, it's hoppy. But I don't know if it's hop. I still think it's about that roast.
I think I ordered a case of it this week, so we could probably.
We have it on the shelf.
I think we just got a fresh case this week, also. Or fresh as you can.
And that beer is a banger.
Certified.
It's a great beer.
I think that's also
Beer
like that,
Tipple
that
certified
roast,
banger.
That roast character.
Here
is
you
a-
go. Listen, pop them open. We got a banger.
That roast character has a huge thing to do with the differentiation point too, I think. Whereas black IPAs are more likely to just have Cinnamar or Midnight Wheat or something that is going to make it dark without making it particularly roasty.
Which I think is lame for a black IPA.
I also
And always
I think
have.
that's one of the defining things of it, though, is that it is less roasty compared to an American stout.
less. But some of them were back
Cinnamar
in
is
their
still
day.
roasty. Black,
Right.
As much as they want to say that Midnight Wheat just gives you color, it doesn't. It gives you flavor too. Just not as pronounced as burnt roasted barley.
All right, we're running up on time.
All right.
Do we have any? What?
All right.
Are there any final
That's it for
styles
me.
that we want to try to see if we want to go through? Yeah, we have time for one more. If anybody, is there any other? All right, I'll throw one out there then. I'll let people think for a moment because I have one. If not, this will be the last one.
Go for it, Chris.
Unless you got a good one.
not a
Mac?
good
That
one,
better
but one
be a
that'd
good
be
one.
very fast.
Okay, do a fast one. And I'll do
This
a
is
quick
just
one.
because,
Lightning
like,
round, yeah.
Smooth.
No, this one that like exists, it still exists. Very like you can find it all the time in most places.
Sounds dead.
But no. Here's the thing: we're talking about the American
definition
version
of
it, though.
dead.
The American version of it, though.
Yes,
General like Belgian beers, like triples.
that's where I was going to go.
Yeah,
I was going to say Trappist Ales.
yeah. I think triples and
Let's go
quads and
Trappist.
doubles, like all of those, like
Yes.
those traditional ones. You used to find those at every single brewery.
Yes.
And now like no breweries do them.
Yes, I
They're a
agree. That's where I was
let-
on this of the
okay.
same mind. That's
Let
so
the
funny.
American ones die. Keep the Belgian ones.
Yeah. Huh.
No American brewery needs to be making too many Trappist beers. They are made so well by the Belgian breweries. They hold up. Their shelf life is very long.
They're often
Better.
bottle conditioned.
Yeah.
Someone
Like-
doesn't respect, well, not U.S. but American.
Omega Gang or
They're not American.
Unibrew or
Oh,
New,
they're
New
not
World.
from-
New
yeah,
World.
yeah, yeah.
You said let the Belgian one survive.
Yeah, I stand by that.
Kill the rest of them.
Yeah.
Omega Gang. There are exceptions.
We're gonna
but
throw Molotovs. through
Omega Gang
Uber's
doesn't
front
really
windows.
They branched down to a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, Uber's
I'm
doing
not
a
I'm
lot.
just
of
saying,
Uber,
but
yeah.
I'm not saying that they only make them. I'm
Omega
just
Gang
saying
doing
they make
IPAs
them.
and stuff now. So.
I don't think I need it from them though.
Okay.
Right? I'd,
Yeah.
Like if I had the only, of course I'd like want them to make whatever they want to make, but if it was like you can have 3 philosophers or you can have any other Belgian version of it, I'm gonna opt for the Belgian version.
Okay. Yeah.
Brett IPA.
Ooh, yeah, never mind. We're just switching over to this.
Bring it back, baby.
Bring it back. Bring that one
100% Brett fermented IPA.
100%. Let's bring it back.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
I think
Let's
that's-
go. All right,
that's
yeah.
sick. That
Here,
should
you're here
definitely
first,
exist.
folks. Hopewell's going 100% Brett fermentations.
Liar. You're lying.
You're lying a lot.
You're a coward. You know you won't do
wait,
We
it.
have Mike on residency
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
ones and twos. He's
We-
not brewing. He's just playing music for our brewers.
We got Iswas
Yeah.
that does
That's
Brett
great.
as well.
Remember Prairie America?
Yeah.
That was
That beer rocked, dude.
It was a great beer. It was a Nelson Brett IPA, I believe.
I love that. That
That
sounds
was-
great.
That beer was awesome.
Yeah. Brett IPAs
In the
are
heyday
sick.
of Nelson.
I'd even.
No one made that's truly a dead style.
I'd
That's-
argue.
that's
Yeah,
truly
yeah.
is.
There is not.
Guess who's probably gonna bring it back?
Hell yes, let's go.
Let's go.
And
Television brewing.
I'd even swing for Four Hands, and they're making the Constellation series. Those things were so good.
Wait,
who?
they were. Oh, wait, and
Yeah.
they were doing the 500 mils. Right?
Yeah, 500 mils.
They did one with Mosaic. I remember that was actually
was
very,
doing
very,
this?
very good.
Four Hands.
Oh,
They
Four Hands?
did like a few of them.
yeah, those
single.
were-
They
some
did
of those were
different
great.
single hop ones, and they also did one that was a collaboration with wow, my brain broken. The AB InBev bought wild sour producer from
Wicked
yeah.
Weed.
Wicked Weed.
They did a Wicked Weed collaboration, Supernova. That was like a fruited.
That was a good beer.
Brett IPA. That
Yeah.
original.
You start getting to
version of
Rayon
it
Vert, then that was like
so
borderline
good.
Brett IPA. Then
Yeah.
kind of like a Orval inspired.
I think if
Brett
there's
IPA.
any style,
one
that
of
needs
the
to come back.
classic beers of all time.
Yeah.
American beers, I would say.
If there's one style that I wish would come back, it's Brett IPAs. Brett IPAs.
Wow, there was
That's
one
right,
style.
folks. If you
Yes.
make a bread IPA, you will have a permanent placement here at Beer Temple. The stack.
Sick.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's
only
go.
if it's actually good. There's a lot of bad ones.
Nope.
But like,
If you make it.
no.
If you make it, bring it here.
Permanent placement. There you go.
I think
$5 pint.
I think breweries are too afraid. Breweries are too afraid to do Brett IPAs.
Yeah, you're too afraid.
Maybe.
That's true.
That's a
We-
challenge. That's
Bunch
a
of
challenge.
cowards out there.
Put him in a bomber. Put him in a bomber.
Brett IPA and
There you go.
bombers, dude.
That
Do not do that.
Please.
Do not
No.
do it. You
liable
will,
for
that.
you will blow that thing up.
Cork and cage it. Cork and cage works just fine.
Fine,
sure you get
fine.
it-
Cork and cage is worse.
The Brute Brett IPA is
Oh,
almost a
Brute.
necessity for you to not blow your shit up.
So we're
Sorry,
we're
Serge.
out of time, Mike. It's
Thank
been
God.
a good discussion. The meat was
The meat was
fun.
great.
Yeah,
Stangling, we
it was
grabbed
good.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to thank our guests.
Uh-huh.
It was fun. Some nice, spicy, sizzling hibachi style.
Chopping
cakes.
it up.
Oh yeah,
Onion
Ting, ting,
volcano.
ting, 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 ting. Yeah,
Onion
volcano.
volcano.
You know,
That's
Yeah.
how hot these
Shrimp and
takes were.
mouse.
exactly. Those takes were great. You know,
They were some of the best.
we're just sitting around and he's flipping little bits of
Into
take
his
into our
little
mouth.
Shrimp
you
tails
know?
into his hat.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think of that? Next week, I'm very excited for next week. We've got a show that we've been trying to do literally for years.
Yeah.
I think maybe even I'm certain before you even like joined as a co-host, we've been trying to get this darn show going. But we finally got it, and we got, I think a pretty insane. We got the 3 people that are like, well, if we could get someone, who would we get? And it was
Yeah.
like we listed 3 people. We reached out and we got those 3 people, which is pretty cool. So we have
Carl.
Carl, but his last name
Grandin.
I was going to say Grandstrom, but it's Matt Grandstrom. No, Carl Grandin.
Matt Granstrom.
Yeah, Matt Grandstrom, Carl Grandin. No, we have Carl Grandin.
Yeah.
To me, spoiler alert, like,
King of beer art.
yeah, the goat, the god, the whatever of that
Omnipoyo.
stuff. Yeah, the best.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got Michael Frymuth of Mars and Franklin Design, and we have Gabriel of from Half Acre, the owner, who I think has been on the cutting edge of beer design for quite some time now. I think that's a pretty badass threesome of artistic
A murderer's
minded.
row.
Yeah,
That's,
I mean that's a pretty good.
It's very impressive.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. So that's next week. Very interested to hear about that. I just want to. I mean, I just want to hear those three talk amongst themselves. You know, I just want to hear like Frymouth and Carl. Like, what do they have to say?
Remember when you made that like eye on top of the thing with like the
Yeah, like remember when you did that,
That
and
was-
it's
that
still
was-
like the coolest thing ever, and I have
Maybe like
like
Chris
prints of
Farley,
it in
yeah,
my
yeah.
bar.
That was so
still, yeah. But you know what I can say to Carl? Like, remember when you like designed that neon, that one,
That's
that
in your
one of
book.
one that's now in your book, and it's also like in my bar right now.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
was awesome.
Thank you.
Remember when you made Jungle Boogie?
That's a flex. Yeah, he didn't make Jungle Boogie.
Frymouth.
Frymouth also did our. He also designed a neon for us. Shit, and so did Half Acre. All three of
Can we
them.
get 'em
That
all-
is the
Can we
connection.
get all of them in this room?
That's the connection.
Can
Well,
we-
I will fly Carl in.
No. I mean the neons.
Oh, the
Yeah.
neons.
Yeah,
Maybe.
the Frymouth too. He
Yeah.
lives in New York.
True. I think he's in Connecticut now.
Do you have his address so we can dox him?
Yeah. Yeah, we should.
We should definitely
Would
dox
anyone? Does anyone have anything to say before we leave?
Don't dox people. I was just joking.
Okay, that's what you would like to say.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm anti-doxing for the record.
Hot take. Anything you want to say?
No, just thanks for having me. Happy to chop it up as normal, and yeah. See y'all when I see you.
All right.
Sick.
And anything
So
for you,
sick.
Max? Anything you'd like to say?
Not much. Just bring back bread IPAs. Even if it's like Enjoy After from Stone. I'd take that even at this point.
Yeah.
Was that a bread IPA?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Oh, they really did not do a good job of marketing it as a Brett IPA.
Nope, they did not. But it was
Oh.
good.
It was. All right. Well, we will see you guys next week. So long.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.